Hello, I'm Katie, and my friend and I here are going to read you a little bit of this book, which is written by Judy Hayman, who's one of our Hadstock authors and lives locally. And this one is called Quest for a Cave. It's part of her Dragon Tales series, and she has very kindly given us permission to share a little bit of it with you today. So here we go. Here's chapter 1, Trouble with Tales. Emily was feeling grumpy, which was not like her at all. She usually enjoyed reading in bed without her young brother Tom pestering her, but today the story was irritating her. Why did children in books have such exciting adventures? They were humans. They couldn't even fly. She was a dragon, with wings and scales and a spiky tail. She might be small, but she could breathe fire, though not very well yet. She lived in a cave. Life should be far more dangerous and adventurous for her, but it wasn't. The cave where she lived with her family was at the head of a quiet glen in the Highlands of Scotland. It was well hidden by boulders and gorse bushes. Mum and Dad liked it because it was safe and no humans had ever been seen there. Emily knew it was unlikely that a knight in shining armour would ever be seen in the glen, but even a stray hiker in a woolly hat would be better than nothing. She felt like throwing her book into a far corner of the cave, but she hadn't quite finished the story and was afraid it would get charred by mistake, so she tucked it under her heather pillow. She was about to get up when her father called, "Up you get, Emily! Will you fetch Tom back for breakfast?" He was stirring porridge in a pot on the fire. Emily crawled out of bed and shook herself to get rid of the bits. "Be careful," said Dad. "You nearly got bits in the porridge." "Might make it taste better," said Emily, and skipped out of the way as Dad sent a small huff of flame after her for being cheeky. At the door of the cave, she stopped and looked for Tom. He was a little way up the hill, crouching down with his back to her. Instead of shouting, as she usually did, she crept up the hill quietly to see what he was doing. Tom was lying on his front on a stony patch. He had built a little pile of twigs and dry grass and was breathing heavily. Emily knew what he was doing. He was trying to huff. Young dragons can't huff properly. They can breathe out a puff of smoke almost as soon as they hatch from their egg, but real fire comes later. All winter, Tom had been grumpy because Emily, who was 3 years older, could breathe out real flames. She couldn't manage to light the cooking fire yet, but she was working on it. "Boo!" she said. Tom jumped and then pretended he had heard her coming, but she knew he hadn't. "It's no good, Tom," she said. "You'll just have to wait till you're old enough. Dad says the porridge is ready." "I don't want any," said Tom grumpily. "Yes, you do. You're always hungry." She gave him a shove to get him up. He shoved back. So to show him who was in charge, she gave a little huff in the direction of his pile of twigs. Her flames were just strong enough, and the little fire blazed merrily. "Easy peasy," she said. Tom scowled. "I was nearly there," he shouted. "Now you've spoiled it. You always do." Crossly, he swung his long blue tail sideways and knocked Emily off her feet. Then he flew out of her way and glided down the mountain to the cave. When he landed, he looked up at Emily, who was still sprawling by his little fire. "The porridge is getting cold," he yelled, and disappeared into the cave. Emily got to her 4 feet slowly. She felt bruised and cross. Little brothers are such pests, she thought. I wish I had a sister or a friend. This glen is so boring. I need to find a friend to have adventures with. She shook her wings and carefully jumped the fire out as her dad had taught her at her first huff. "Never leave a fire, even a little one," he had said. "You don't know where it might end up." "Where's Mum?" she asked as she limped back to the cave. One leg was sore and her right wing felt a bit crumpled. "Collecting firewood. She should be back any minute," said Dad, ladling her porridge. At that moment, both Tom and Emily spotted 3 distinct puffs of white smoke rising above the trees opposite. "3 puffs," shouted Emily. "She wants some help." "I'll go," said Tom, shoveling in the last of his porridge. "No, I will. There must be too much wood for her to manage by herself," said Dad. "You can't carry a big load. I won't be long." He spread his big wings and soared down the valley towards the smoke. Tom scowled. "Bet I could." "No, you couldn't," said Emily. "You're not strong enough." "Stronger than you." "Not am." Soon there were 2 spiky tails duelling furiously. It was quite an even duel, even though she was bigger, because Tom lashed his tail more wildly. They only stopped when they saw both their parents flying slowly towards them, each carrying a big load of pine branches for the fire. Quarrelling again, said Mum when she had landed and got her breath back. Where's my porridge? I'm hungry enough for 2 helpings. They finished their breakfast with mugs of hot nettle tea, and when he was full, Tom was cheerful again, and Emily felt less grumpy. Mum smoothed out her wings with a few gentle huffs. No more fighting, she said. Go inside and tidy your beds while I wash the bowls. She flew down to the stream while Dad made a start on breaking up the branches into sticks for the fire. He carried the first pile into the cave and stacked it at the back next to the stores of food. There wasn't much room by the time the second pile was in. Emily and Tom tried to tidy their heather beds, but every time they were neat, someone's tail messed them up again. When Mum came back and saw the state of the cave, she sighed. Everybody outside, she said. Too many tails in here. Wings are useful, but tails are more trouble than they're worth, Emily declared as she followed her dad outside. I like mine, said Tom. It's got a good swish. He was jumping the last of the sticks into small pieces. It's very useful when you've got an itch between your wings, said Dad. I wouldn't want to be without mine. I suppose so, said Emily, but they do take up a lot of room, and Tom never stops twitching his, even when he's asleep. Mum came out. I know what the trouble is, she said. It isn't just tails, it's this cave. It's too small for a growing family. I think we should move cave. Brilliant, Tom shouted. Let's look for one near a loch for swimming. I want one near another dragon family with some girls of my age. No, boys. Just somewhere bigger, with space to get away from young dragons when they're arguing, said Mum wearily. Hold on, said Dad loudly. It sounds a nice idea, but new caves aren't easy to find, not empty ones. The good thing about this place is that it's never visited by prying humans. If we move, we'll be spotted for sure. And you all know what that will lead to. Knights on quests, kids with cameras, hunters with guns even. No, better safe than sorry. We'll stay put. He flew off for a drink of stream water before anyone could argue, leaving his family to heave 3 heavy sighs, a big flame, a little flame, and a small puff of grey smoke. I wonder how we change his mind, said Mum softly to herself. We wondered if you might possibly like to draw your own dragon to share with Judy. And if you do, it would be fantastic if you could put it on Facebook or Twitter and tag us in it at Hadstock. We would absolutely love to see your dragon drawings. And thank you so much for listening to our story. And thank you to Judy for letting us share it with you. Bye.